Hey, this is Bryce and welcome back to my YouTube channel, Jack of Trades. We're ending our second week on the RC5 Team Build where we are making a 1/5 scale version of the iconic Associated Electronics RC10. So we spent the weekend printing out 3D parts, test parts basically, not real parts, for the car just to kind of see how things are going together, to see if the model makes sense. So we've got the front arms, we got the steering knuckles, the caster blocks, did a shock tower, we did the rear bulkhead, the rear arms, the rear motor arm mounts, and then the rear uprights. So we got everything kind of assembled, and so far so good. We even got into machining some parts just so we could get this all together. So we got front axles that we machined, some wheel spacers, the rear wheel hexes, and then I think my favorite part so far are these aluminum knockoff nuts. They came out really nice. So this video kind of goes into some of the machining. Well, we saw a little bit of the machining and then basically the building and assembling of this kit. But it's coming out really nice. We've kind of mocked out our electronics. We've got our steering servo approximately where it's going to be with our batteries, our speed controller, and our motor, and we've got plenty of real estate for the stuff, so it looks pretty good. The car looks awesome. It's coming along really nicely. I don't see any major red flags yet. I did do this mock-up chassis out of acrylic. I had a piece of 1/4 inch acrylic around, so to kind of bring everything together, I cut it out on the CNC router. I bent up the nose piece 30 degrees, and I did the little the rear curved section, and so this will be a nice tool to have to kind of mock things up and see how things are going before we make a real chassis. I do now have all the materials I need for the chassis. I picked up some sheet metal that I can start working with once I'm happy with this. I still need to get in, I need to get the bell cranks done, I need to get the gearbox done. And those are kind of the major two missing pieces. After that, it's just little details here and there and cleaning up the design. I'm looking for kind of places where it's not going to work for us and cleaning that up and tweaking it. But it's been a fun build so far. There's still a lot to do. All this is just for mock-up. None of this is the real deal. I think the only real parts that we see right now are these wheel nuts. Everything else that I've made is basically for test pieces and will have to be made again out of better materials. So we'll see. Some of these parts, like the arms and the bulkheads, I'm printing with a fair amount of infill where I could probably run them just as a test setup. Even the wheels I would run until I get some real ones. So potentially this mock-up could be a runner if I had a decent chassis. And then I can gradually transition over to parts out of better materials. So yeah, I hope you enjoy the video. Thanks for tuning in. Alright, so now we have enough parts that we can actually start putting some things together. We've got a couple of printed parts for the front suspension. These are all prototypes. Got a prototype shock tower printed. This will eventually get machined out of G10 or carbon fiber. We've got our steering knuckles, our caster blocks, our bulkheads, our front and lower arms. And then we machined a couple of parts. We got our knockoff wheel nuts. I think these are pretty trick. They were really fun to make. And I went ahead and engraved the channel initials into it. Jacket trades. This is actually my blemish one. I made 5 and I had 1 where I had some errant runaway in the program. So as you saw from the video, I turned these manually and I did post machining on the CNC. I could probably do the whole thing on CNC if I might try that out just to make it faster, especially if I have to make more of these. But I think these came out really nice for a first article. So these are our front axles. So obviously we got 2 of them. These are out of aluminum at the moment. I might make these out of titanium. The one thing I don't like with titanium is tapping titanium. So I would rather make these out of steel over titanium just because it's a much easier material to tap. That being said, I should probably try to figure out how to tap titanium. There's got to be right cutting fluid to do the job. We got these for now. And then we got some wheel spacers. So let's go ahead and put a little bit of this together just to see how it goes. I don't really have the right hardware right now. I'm just kind of using whatever I have around the shop. So I'll have to start ordering hardware for this kit. So all of my countersunk screws are 100-degree heads, just to get a lower profile head. So I need to order that hardware. So as I've said before, I like to 3D print the parts before making real parts to make sure everything goes together and we're getting the motions that we want. So these are just some pins I had from the HPI Baja. These aren't the actual pins that I'll be using. That is the front end, kind of in a nutshell. So it's funny, all said and done, this I think is actually wider than the HPI Baja, which is kind of interesting. Alright, so we've got parts for the rear half of the suspension now. We've got our lower arms, our arm mounts. These have 1/2 degree anti-squat and 1.5 degree toe. We've got our rear uprights. The bulkhead, as you saw, we also did a mock-up of the chassis just to kind of mock things up and get a perspective of how big this thing is going to be. This chassis is huge. I just cut this out of some 1/4-inch acrylic that I had sitting around. Obviously the piece is not quite big enough because I have this little cutout from a previous project, but for what we're doing this will work just fine. So let's put this together real quick. Let's do the axles first. So I'm using these HPI Baja axles. I do have CVDs for the HPI Baja. However, these don't fit the current uprights. So to get these to work, I would need to do some design changes on the upright if I want to use CVDs. Two arms assembled. Let's go ahead and mount everything up to the chassis. Have our electronics now. Probably stick the battery back here. Servo's going to go up here. So we're going to keep plugging away. I think we're going to spend this week focusing on the gearbox design. Put on a couple more parts, maybe get some tie rods done up. I might, with our test chassis, I might go ahead and just put some stiffeners in here, just so I can keep building this up. Pretty much the major pieces are the gearbox, motor plate, I got some chassis braces back here, and then the bell cranks. Once you get the bell cranks done up, we can mock up the steering setup here. But we're making good progress. We'll keep doing the mock-up, and then eventually we'll have to start making real parts for the real deal. But it'll be cool just to kind of see this mocked up and see what it's going to look like. Alright, thanks for tuning and watching. Take care. Bye.